As we are on day 2 of the offseason, we already know Brock Purdy and the contract negotiation that is going on will be heavily discussed. Fair warning, it is what it is. It's just the situation that we live in. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like it, but it is my job to cover all of these situations and give you the opportunity to at least watch the video or just decide, I don't want to watch that. So you decide. But if you are interested in kind of how people across the league are kind of interpreting what Brock Purdy said in his kind of exit interview with the media, Ross Tucker actually believes that he's going as far as to say Brock bowed up on the 49ers by setting a deadline and effectively telling them if a contract isn't met by said date, don't expect me to show up. I'll let you listen to what he has to say, and then I'll react to it on the other side.
Here's what I think is so interesting about that. And I wanted to discuss this with you. I didn't click on the article, but Brock, I think I saw some quote from Brock saying, I hope we get it done as soon as possible.
Correct.
So that I can be there for the offseason. Correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that is very, very interesting because that, to my knowledge, is the first time that Brock Purdy's kind of bowing up a little bit. People are acting like he's a free agent. He's not a free agent. He's under contract for another year on the 4-year deal that he signed as a 7th-round pick. Okay? So what he's basically already saying is, if we don't get the deal done before OTAs, I'm not showing up for them. I'm not going to be there for the off-season program. And I was a little bit surprised to see that coming for him. Now, he's had a bunch of success, no doubt. The first 2 years, obviously, in particular. This year, not so much. But I wasn't exactly sure what his posture would be, going into this negotiation. But to already put that out there is bold. And maybe he's earned that, with the way he's played the last couple of years. Let's put it this way. I started a decent amount of games my second and third year. I wouldn't have said that publicly. No, I wasn't Brock Purdy. I wasn't starting quarterback, all those things. But he's already kind of putting it out there and bowing up on the Niners a little bit, saying, because is he going to skip the mandatory minicamp? Is he going to skip training camp? And then they could fine him? He is under contract. So I thought that was very, very telling that Brock is already putting that out there, that he wants it done or else he's not going to attend the OTAs, even though he's under contract.
So this to me is very interesting that he came away with this particular thought process, because after I listened to Brock Purdy, I made my video on it yesterday. It is very similar to what I said about what Brock Purdy had mentioned during his exit interview. I said specifically, there's 2 things that stand out from Brock Purdy's exit interview. The one that he talked about how he's going to manage the negotiation, no drama, respectful, professional. That's how he's going to handle it, right? So effectively, I think indirectly maybe referencing how other contract negotiations have gone, maybe publicly, and basically saying that that's not how I intend to go about this situation. But the second thing was him referencing OTAs and mandatory minicamp, because when he mentioned it, he put a large emphasis on the fact is that that's when our season starts. That's when we need to come together and we need to start working together, and we need to start, pushing forward towards the season. So why does that matter? Why does it matter that he said that? Well, when you listen to Ross Tucker, I mean, I'm not going as far to saying he's bowing up on the 49ers, but I think the message is clear, is that we have seen time and time and time again where these negotiations linger on into training camp. And the only thing that it ultimately hurts at the end is the 49ers, because they don't get to practice. They're not, if it's a holdout, they're not with the team. Um, and it creates distractions. It creates bad, like you talk about vibes. That was one of the reasons why the vibes were just atrocious during last year's training camp, because of the whole situation going on with BA and Trent Williams. And you could feel it. You could absolutely feel it. So that's why, like, I find his description of it interesting, because he's taking a more like, oh, like this is actually, this is what Brock is saying. Like, this is what he's meaning by that. Because I think a lot of fans who don't follow off-season and contract negotiation stuff as closely as maybe I do, or maybe Ross Tucker, who have gone through this year in and year out, and you develop a cadence, you start to understand things from the coach and players speak, and really being able to understand what it means. And so, as I had mentioned, when he talks about that date, what I had said was he's effectively telling the 49ers, like, we can't let this thing drag out, because for me to get a head start on making sure that we have the best season imaginable in 2025, I need to be there in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. And we saw with Christian McCaffrey and Jawan Jennings, those were two guys that were getting ready to hold out, but the 49ers got their deals done right before mandatory minicamp. And as a result, remember, we didn't see Christian McCaffrey in OTAs. And when we didn't see Christian McCaffrey in OTAs, we're like, that's weird, because CMC is the guy who is always out in front. If it's optional, you expect CMC to be there. That's just the kind of player he is. And when we ever hear anyone talk about CMC, he's always working the hardest. He's always in practice going 100 miles an hour, because that's who he is, and it elevates everyone around him. So the fact that he wasn't there at organized team activities that are optional, that's when we were like, this is interesting. And then boom, we find out right before mandatory minicamp, oh, it was contract related. We didn't know, we didn't hear about it. So it was kind of like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense why he wasn't at OTAs. So same thing, I believe, happened with Jawan Jennings. I don't think he went to OTAs either. So both of those players, Jawan Jennings was restricted free agent, and McCaffrey had one more year left on his deal, but no guaranteed money. Trent Williams had one more year left on his deal, or I think he might have multiple years left on his deal, but no guaranteed money. So when you look at Brock Purdy, he has 1 year left on his deal. I don't know what the guaranteed money looks like, because I don't even think his contract is worth $1 million. I don't know. I got to actually take a look at that. But we all know it's not a lot. It's still the rookie deal that he was working off of, and that rookie base salary of being the last pick in the NFL draft. So again, I've been saying this whole time, like, I hope that this isn't a drag out dogfight negotiation with the quarterback. But there have been no indications from the 49ers that would make me believe that that wouldn't happen. So I've been saying I think the 49ers are going to sign a starting quarterback in free agency. One of the reasons why I've been saying that is to insulate themselves against this situation. So the whole reason why you sign a starter is if he says, all right, well, I'm not going to show up to mandatory minicamp until we have a new deal on the table. The 49ers have a quarterback that has starting caliber experience where they can keep the thing moving if Brock isn't available. And that to me sounds like a nightmare, personally. as if I remove myself as, trying to objectively cover what's happening and just put myself in the shoes of being a fan of this team, that sounds terrible. Honestly, sounds terrible. Because whether we can argue till we're blue in the face about what Brock Purdy should make, what he should get, um, what other options do you have? And are those other options going to come via free agency? And are those other options somehow going to change something? I don't know. But the point being is, the reason why I think this way is because this is how the 49ers have operated. This is their trend, the trend that has been identified over and over and over again. So now that you're having Brock address it and point it out, other people are noticing what he's saying and why he's saying it. Curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.